Hey, what's going on, Z Nation? Zaid here, ZSPN. And today, guys, we're going to be talking about the Los Angeles Lakers as it concerns DeMar DeRozan and his next destination as it concerns being a Los Angeles Laker. Now, guys, there has been some reports that just came out just recently when it came to DeMar DeRozan and his circumstances with the San Antonio Spurs. Now, according to the reports, is that the Lakers are showing a lot of interest in DeMar DeRozan as a potential target in the offseason to join the Los Angeles Lakers alongside LeBron and Anthony Davis. But with that, the Spurs also put out that they may do a sign and trade scenario with the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, in the past, the San Antonio Spurs never really do a lot of, I guess, dealings or business with the Los Angeles Lakers because, they don't want their opponents to be a better team than they are in the Western Conference. But in this instance, within 33-year-old DeMar DeRozan, they basically don't want to lose a guy like him in the free agency market because he is going to be an unrestricted free agent. So DeMar DeRozan is, showing a lot of interest from the Los Angeles Lakers, and he could potentially become a Los Angeles Laker if all lines, come together when it's all said and done for a potential DeMar DeRozan in Los Angeles. And maybe a year ago, guys, there was this report that came out that, DeMar DeRozan put out a quote saying that he was glad that, the Los Angeles Lakers are showing a lot of interest in him. I think it was like a year ago or 2 years ago. So you can just tell that, for a guy like DeMar DeRozan, who was, from, he's a Lakers fan, a Kobe fan, and at the same time, he's from Compton. It's one of those type of situations shows that, he could potentially, show a lot of interest of going back home. And, he may potentially, I'm not sure, maybe take a little less to join the Los Angeles Lakers and become a championship contender because, the combinations of LeBron and Anthony Davis alongside DeMar DeRozan, I really think will play a huge role of the Lakers' success going into next season because he could be that third option for the Los Angeles Lakers as a guy who can average around 21 points a game. So he has the capability of pulling it off. He did so throughout his career, averaging 20 points per game in Toronto and now recently with the San Antonio Spurs. And I'm not sure with this sign and trade deal type of scenario that maybe it will possibly trigger the luxury tax, or maybe it will take the Lakers over the over the cap if somehow if the San Antonio Spurs do a sign and trade type of scenario with the Los Angeles Lakers. I think maybe it will kind of trigger something to the point that, maybe it will kind of hurt the Lakers of somehow building the team around LeBron and Anthony Davis and potentially a DeMar DeRozan type of scenario. So, it will potentially be into show a little bit of in question, if you will, of somehow if it will somehow hurt the Lakers if somehow they do a sign and trade type of scenario that San Antonio Spurs will do with DeMar DeRozan. But, still remains to be seen about that. And, continuing on with the report that I was reading is that, if somehow the Spurs do trade DeMar DeRozan, they will expect to, get something of value for DeMar DeRozan because they want something in return. They don't want, as I mentioned, they don't want DeMar DeRozan to move on and they get nothing out of it. So, with this instance, you have to think about, the combination of a trade package. Okay, the San Antonio Spurs may ask for Kyle Kuzma and potentially maybe the 22nd overall pick in this year's draft for the Los Angeles Lakers. And it really seems to be evolving around that. Okay, if the Lakers are going to do a trade this offseason, they are going to include Kyle Kuzma and the 22nd overall pick in a trade package for some sort of trade scenario. That's why I made a video about this when it came down to any sort of interest the Lakers have in trade scenarios. I mentioned players like Russell Westbrook, Kyle Lowry, Buddy Hield, those type of situations when it comes to any type of trade scenario. Kyle Kuzma and the 22nd overall pick will be involved if they want to do a trade with any sort of team that will basically boost their starting lineup or bring type of scoring ability or anything like that. So it sort of depends on the Lakers. Who will they package deal if it will be a done deal. And DeMar DeRozan, guys, as I mentioned, he's the type of guy that will be a solid, great player alongside LeBron and Anthony Davis, a guy who can average around 20 points a game. And, he's a scorer. I mean, he can score for you. But, there is some weakness from him. I mean, he doesn't play good defense. So the idea of that being his weakness shows a lot of, instance if somehow the Lakers want to pursue someone else in free agency that brings a bit of a defensive side of the ball, like Spencer Dinwiddie. I mean, there's a lot of rumors coming around that, he wants to take his talents to Los Angeles and, play for. Recently, I've been reading reports showing that he wants to play more with the Los Angeles Lakers than the LA Clippers. So, if somehow a deal does happen between DeMar DeRozan, the Lakers may pursue, Spencer Dinwiddie as a potential point guard position and, bring that defensive side of the ball. So, the Lakers can go either way with this particular offseason, getting a player like DeMar DeRozan and Spencer Dinwiddie. But, they can go, either way with this. There's other players in the free agency market that could be a great fit with the Los Angeles Lakers that the Lakers can get for cheap. I mean, there's, Carmelo Anthony. I mean, he can be a solid, player that can give you 15 to 20 points a game if he wants to. And also the defensive side. I mean, he can also bring defense to the Los Angeles Lakers as well. And then, there's also, if somehow Spencer Dinwiddie doesn't work out, you also have, there's also Dennis Schroeder. But, guys, it's really hard to tell about what's his intentions in the offseason. Okay, he could potentially, go somewhere else without the Lakers getting anything in return. That's why another trade scenario will happen with the Los Angeles Lakers if somehow, he agrees to it. I mean, it could be with the Toronto Raptors for Kyle Lowry, or the Lakers can look at potentially, Russell Westbrook, but, it's kind of hard to say with the whole DeMar DeRozan situation if somehow the Lakers have the assets to make it happen. But, still remains to be seen about that. But, there's a lot of interest that the Lakers have in free agency, and one of them is DeMar DeRozan. Personally, I brought up DeMar DeRozan in a video when it came to the Lakers signing him as a free agent, but if somehow the San Antonio Spurs wants to, do a sign and trade with the Los Angeles Lakers for, to send him to Los Angeles, then it may be a realistic type of trade scenario. I really think it can happen if somehow, a trade does happen between the Lakers and the San Antonio Spurs. Now, in the past, it never happened, but, you never know. Maybe this one will work out because, maybe the San Antonio Spurs wants to do rebuild mode and, build around Kyle Kuzma as a potential, player that could be traded to the team. And that 22nd overall pick. So, there's just a lot of scenarios, and I really think that, this will be a realistic type of trade scenario that the Lakers can do to get DeMar DeRozan. But you never know. As a free agent, he may, consider to take less and join the Los Angeles Lakers as a mid-level exception. You never know. So there's a lot of things. A lot of things the Lakers are going to do when it comes to free agency. It's just a couple of weeks away. I believe it's August 1st for any teams to bring back certain players, especially the Los Angeles Lakers with Dennis Schroeder. If he doesn't agree to the extension or the type of contract that comes to him, a sign and trade type of scenario with Dennis Schroeder will potentially be considered, but hopefully the Lakers do not lose him for nothing. So there's a lot. Rob Pelinka has a lot on his plate and needs to focus when it comes to the offseason and how to build a team around LeBron and Anthony Davis going into next season, and potentially for the Lakers to be either a playoff contending team or potentially a championship contending team. But as of right now, guys, there's not a lot of news lately when it comes to the Lakers, other than workouts and seeing Anthony Davis being at 100% shows you that his mindset of working out early shows you that he is motivated for next season to have potentially an MVP type of season, and I hope he has that because last season, it was a real quick off season, and I believe the Lakers, due to the circumstances of injuries, really affected that. And hopefully the Lakers turn things around and hopefully, take the team to the next level for a potential championship run or maybe a playoff run. It sort of depends on what team will be surrounding LeBron and Anthony Davis going into next season. And I really want to know, guys, your thoughts and your opinions about the whole DeMar DeRozan type of trade scenario. Will you guys accept it about a trade type of scenario with the San Antonio Spurs as a sign and trade type of scenario? Or do you think, guys, the Lakers should just, look at their options, maybe go after a Buddy Hield type of trade scenario, or maybe a Russell Westbrook type of trade scenario, or Kyle Lowry, or if there's a free agent out there that's out there for you guys that the Lakers should consider that they can get for cheap, that's a solid, fit for the Lakers, like Carmelo Anthony, a Derrick Rose type of trade. A sign trade. Excuse me. Signee. Scenario. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about that. I just was in a blank right there. There's just a lot of free agents, guys, and I made videos about this. So I'll put the links to those particular videos in the maybe in the left hand or maybe it's in the right hand corner of the video. It will pop up during this video. But I gave my thoughts and my opinions about it. And if you guys just scroll down and in my videos and see there's free agents and trade scenarios. I gave my thoughts and my opinions about it, and I really want to know your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Go Lakers, and guys, please make sure to subscribe to the ZSPN podcast on Anchor. It is also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Radio Public, and Breaker. All those great distribution podcasts is out there. And of course, like all of my social media sites, Facebook, ZSPN on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'll leave the links to my social media sites in the description of this video so you guys can check out my social media sites. And of course, subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Go Lakers. Take it easy, guys. Stay safe out there.